Humanity's long humiliation ends today, or Earth burns in the ashes of hubris and shattered dreams. Ambassador Paul Kennedy strides into the grand halls of the Zephyrian Galactic Council headquarters, a wolf among the sneering alien delegations. Prince Fenris and his Lemnorian lackeys openly mock humanity's primitive spacecraft. For decades, the Council worlds derided Earth's inefficient sublight-speed ships, flaunting their advanced FTL drives, dominating the stars while humanity groveled for scraps. But humans are done scraping and begging on bended knee. In hidden facilities across the solar system, Earth's greatest minds engineered their own FTL revolution in secret. As Fenris pontificates, demanding further restrictions on human expansion, an aide slips Kennedy a coded datapad message. The ambassador rises, a predator's grin spreading across his face. He addresses the assembled council, voice booming. Holoscreens flare to life, proudly projecting sleek human FTL cruisers, powerful, advanced, awe-inspiring. Fenris and the alien dignitaries gasp, their smugness evaporating, replaced by shock, disbelief, fear. The balance of galactic power shifts in an instant. Kennedy presses Earth's sudden advantage. He demands equal representation, access to resource-rich systems, an end to centuries of repression. The council chamber descends into chaos, panicked shouts, frantic arguments, species turning against each other. Prince Fenris rages, his schemes for Lemnorian dominance crumbling. He vows revenge, to steal or destroy humanity's FTL edge by any means, plunging the galaxy into conflict. This is humanity's defining moment. If the Lemnorians sabotage Earth's technology, the flame of hope is extinguished. But if Kennedy navigates the cutthroat galactic politics, forges ironclad alliances, then a bold new era dawns, the age of Earth Ascendant. Billions of lives, the very fate of humanity, all hang in the balance. An intergalactic game of chess begins. The opening move made. There will be no second chances. In the days following Kennedy's bombshell revelation, an electric tension crackles through the corridors of the Galactic Council headquarters. Prince Fenris seethes, his imperious face twisted into a rictus of barely suppressed fury. He summons his most trusted Lemnorian advisors to his opulent chambers, dismissing the serving staff with an impatient wave of his hand. "This cannot stand," Fenris growls, slamming a fist down on the glossy black conference table. "If the humans have truly mastered FTL technology, it threatens everything we have built." Lord Zaal of the Arcturian delegation nods in agreement, his pale blue eyes glinting with cunning. "Indeed, my prince, we must act quickly to neutralize this new advantage. Perhaps a bit of sabotage is in order." As Fenris and Zaal plot in hushed tones, Ambassador Kennedy works tirelessly to solidify Earth's sudden gains. He meets with dozens of alien dignitaries, hammering out trade agreements and defense pacts. Many of the minor races, long resentful of Lemnorian and Arcturian domination, flock to humanity's banner, eager to ally with a rising power. Yet even as Kennedy makes progress, he senses a growing unease, a prickling at the back of his neck. Whispered rumors spread of a shadowy figure moving behind the scenes, Empress Xalara, the reclusive Zephyrian ruler. Her top agent, an enigmatic male named Nexus, has reportedly infiltrated Earth's diplomatic mission, seeking to uncover the secrets of human FTL technology. Kennedy redoubles his guard, assigning his most trusted security officers to monitor for any signs of espionage. He reaches out to potential allies like Zara, a progressive Tellurian diplomat who shares his vision of a more equitable galactic order. But even as the webs of alliances and intrigues grow ever more tangled, a new player emerges from the shadows. Raxor, charismatic leader of the fiercely independent Cortax warriors, sees opportunity in the chaos. He begins to quietly sound out both human and alien factions, seeking partners for a bold strike against the ossified Galactic Council. In hidden Lemnorian and Arcturian laboratories, teams of scientists work feverishly to unravel the mysteries of human FTL technology, desperate to steal or replicate Earth's newfound edge. In the gleaming halls of the Council, Fenris and Zaal whisper poison, sowing doubt about human intentions. And in the depths of Zephyrian space, Empress Zalara broods on her obsidian throne, coolly weighing her options as the galaxy teeters on a knife's edge. The game is in motion, the pieces arranged on the board. Now comes the true test of Ambassador Kennedy's diplomatic skills and of humanity's dedication. The first moves have been made, but the endgame is still shrouded in shadow. Earth's fate and the destiny of the galaxy will be shaped in the crucial days to come. In the depths of a secret Earth intelligence facility, Agent Marcus Hawkins scans the decoded alien communiques with a growing sense of dread. The glowing lines of text reveal a chilling plan, a plot that threatens to unravel humanity's hard-won gains in a single stroke. Hawkins slams his fist against the console, drawing the attention of his team. "They're going to sabotage our FTL drives," he growls, his voice tight with nearly unleashed fury. "Project Nightfall. Fenris and Zal are planning to infiltrate our shipyards, plant some kind of malware in the control systems." The other agents exchange grim looks, the gravity of the situation sinking in. If the saboteurs succeed, Earth's fledgling FTL fleet could be crippled or destroyed, their technological edge turned to ashes. Hawkins knows there's no time to waste. He opens a secure channel to Ambassador Kennedy, the urgency of his message etched in every word. "Sir, we've uncovered evidence of a council plot against our FTL program. We need to act fast." Kennedy absorbs the information with a stern nod, his mind already racing through the implications. He thinks of Zara, the Tellurian diplomat who has hinted at a potential alliance. Perhaps the time has come to reach out, to forge new bonds in the face of this common threat. As Kennedy makes the call, Nexus, the enigmatic Zephyrian operative, slips through the shadows of Earth's capital. Through a combination of stealth, subterfuge, and carefully cultivated contacts, he has managed to penetrate deep into the human power structure. In a hidden safe house, Nexus pores over stolen schematics and technical readouts, his keen mind analyzing the weaknesses in Earth's FTL drive systems. A cold smile tugs at his lips as he begins to see the outlines of the Council's sabotage plan. But Nexus has his own agenda, his true loyalties an enigma wrapped in a riddle. Light years away on the rebel Tellurian base, Kennedy's holographic image flickers to life before Corax, the grizzled rebel commander. "The Council means to strike at the heart of our FTL program," Kennedy says, his voice grave. "I propose an alliance, a joint operation to stop this sabotage before it's too late." Corax leans forward, his eyes glinting with a mix of calculation and anticipation. The chance to strike a blow against the hated Council is tempting, but he knows trust is a rare commodity in these treacherous times. "I can offer you my best operative, Vala," he says at last. "She'll work with your team to unravel this plot. But remember, human, our interests align only so far." As the negotiations continue, a new player watches from the shadows. Thaxos, the Cortax warrior, observes the humans and Tellurians with a predator's gaze. His operatives have infiltrated both camps, gathering whispers and secrets. Raxor, the enigmatic Cortax leader, has his own designs for the future of the galaxy. And in this game of shadows and lies, even the most unlikely alliances may prove crucial. The pieces are in motion, the board set for a contest of wills and wits that will shape the destiny of world. On Earth, Agent Hawkins briefs his team on their new mission, the stakes higher than any they have faced before. Vala, the Tellurian operative, listens intently, her lithe form coiled with deadly grace. There is a steely willpower in Hawkins's eyes as he lays out their plan, a drive to defend Earth's dreams against all who would see them shattered. The hunt for the saboteurs has begun, a desperate race against time played out in the shadows of shipyards and the corridors of power. Hawkins and Vala lead their team into the fray, their every step dogged by danger and deception. And in the wings, Thaxos and his Cortax warriors watch and wait, their true intentions shrouded in mystery. It is a game of move and countermove, a dance on the edge of a precipice. The future of humanity, the fate of humanity, and all alien species itself hangs in the balance. As the agents of Earth and Telluria close in on their prey, the truth begins to take shape, a picture of a conspiracy that threatens to consume them all. And light years away in the halls of the Galactic Council, Prince Fenris and Lord Zael continue to plot, their whispers poison, their schemes unfolding in the dark. The endgame is still to come, But the opening salvos have been fired. The galaxy holds its breath, waiting to see which side will blink first. The encrypted files flickered on Agent Hawkins's holoscreen, a digital Rosetta Stone revealing the Council's nefarious plans. His eyes widened as he decrypted the final layer, exposing the true scope of Project Nightfall. "We've got them," he muttered, fingers flying across the interface. "Vala, take a look at this." The Tellurian operative leaned in, her violet eyes scanning the data. "Craxus and Sorak," she hissed, recognizing the names, the linchpins of the entire operation. Hawkins nodded grimly. "We need to get this to Kennedy and Corax immediately." The transmission was brief, encrypted, and to the point. Kennedy's holographic form materialized in the safe house, his expression a mix of relief and grit. "Outstanding work, both of you," he said. "This intel could be the key to saving our FTL program, but we need to move fast." The air crackled with tension as plans were formulated. Hawkins and Vala would lead a joint strike team to neutralize Craxus and Sorak before they could execute their sabotage. But as they prepared to move out, chaos erupted. The safe house door exploded inward in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. Cortax warriors poured through the breach, energy weapons blazing. "Ambush!" Hawkins shouted, diving for cover behind an overturned table. Vala was already in motion, her lithe form a blur as she engaged the nearest attacker. The room became a maelstrom of blaster fire and hand-to-hand combat. Hawkins caught glimpses of Thaxos, the Cortax operative, directing the assault with cold efficiency. Kennedy's hologram flickered and distorted as stray shots impacted the projector. "Get out of there," he ordered, his voice barely audible above the din. Vala fought like a demon, her combat skills a deadly dance. But even she couldn't stem the tide forever. A Cortax energy blast caught her in the side, and she stumbled. "Go!" she shouted to Hawkins, gritting her teeth against the pain. "I'll hold them off." Hawkins hesitated for a split second, torn between duty and loyalty. Then he made his choice. Grabbing Vala's arm, he half-dragged, half-carried her towards the rear exit. They burst out into the neon-lit alleyway, the sounds of pursuit close behind. Hawkins's mind raced, plotting escape routes through the labyrinthine city. As they fled, neither was aware of the shadowy figure observing from a nearby rooftop. Nexus, the Zephyrian spy, watched their desperate flight with growing unease. In his hand, he clutched a data crystal containing evidence of an even greater threat, one that could reshape the galaxy itself. Empress Xalara's grand design, a plot to crush Earth and secure Zephyrian dominance once and for all. Nexus's loyalties warred within him, the weight of duty pressed down, demanding he stay silent. But a new voice had begun to whisper, one born of respect for human resilience and a growing disgust with Xalara's machinations. As Hawkins and Vala disappeared into the urban maze, Nexus made his decision. He pocketed the crystal and melted into the shadows. The fate of worlds now rested on the choices of a handful of individuals, each grappling with conflicting loyalties and uncertain allies. In the heart of the Council's most secure facility, Craxus hunched over banks of gleaming computers, weaving strands of malicious code with android-like precision. And light years away, Sorak sharpened his blades, preparing for a lethal dance among the stars. The pieces were in motion. The next move would determine whether humanity's dreams of the cosmos would soar or be forever grounded. The encrypted message from Nexus burned in Hawkins' mind as he and Vala raced through the neon-lit streets. The Zephyrian spy's revelation had changed everything. Earth wasn't just facing sabotage, it was staring down the barrel of full-scale invasion. "Kennedy needs to know," Hawkins panted, ducking into a shadowy alcove. Vala nodded, her violet eyes scanning for pursuit. Within hours, the intelligence had reached the highest levels. In a secure bunker beneath Earth's capital, Ambassador Kennedy's hologram flickered to life before Corax. "The Zephyrians mean to crush us all," Kennedy said, his voice tight. "We need to hit them first, hard and fast." Corax's scarred face twisted into a grim smile. "My people have suffered under Xalara's boot for too long. We're ready." The next days were a whirlwind of covert action. Hawkins and Vala led a strike team deep into Zephyrian space, their stealth ship slipping past automated defenses. The logistics hub loomed before them, a sprawling complex of storage facilities and transport nodes. "Charges set," Vala reported, her fingers dancing across a hollow interface. "We have 2 minutes." They sprinted back to the ship, alarms blaring in their wake. As they cleared the atmosphere, the hub erupted in a chain of explosions, gutting Zalara's supply lines. Across a dozen systems, Tellurian rebels struck in perfect synchronicity. Shipyards burned, command centers went dark, and centuries of oppression fueled their fury. But Zalara's retaliation was swift and merciless. The Black Guard descended on Tellurian colonies like avenging angels of death. Cities were reduced to ash, millions slaughtered in a matter of hours. On the bridge of his flagship, Overlord Draxus watched dispassionately as another world burned. "Let this be a lesson," he intoned, his voice a metallic rasp. "Rebellion will not be tolerated." In a hidden base on the edge of known space, Kennedy's hologram materialized before Raxor, the Quartax warlord. The human's eyes were haunted by the images of Tellurian suffering. "You know why I'm here," Kennedy said simply. Raxor studied him, reptilian eyes unblinking. "The enemy of my enemy is not always my friend, human." "No," Kennedy agreed, "but sometimes there are only hope." A long moment passed, then Raxor nodded once. "My blades are yours, for now." The pieces were in motion. Nexus, the Zephyrian turncoat, passed vital data to Hawkins, schematics, patrol routes, access codes. A daring plan took shape, a multi-pronged assault on Zalara's primary shipyard. As the combined fleet gathered in the shadows of a dead star, tensions simmered. Human, Tellurian, and Quartax ships jockeyed for position, allies by necessity, not choice. Hawkins stood on the bridge of the lead assault ship, studying the enemy defenses. He felt the weight of worlds on his shoulders. "This is it," he muttered. "All or nothing." The order to attack blazed across comm channels. Hundreds of ships surged forward, weapons hot. The greatest battle in galactic history was about to begin. The void of space erupted into a kaleidoscope of light as the combined fleet surged forward. Hawkins gripped the command console, his squeezing hard. "All ships, engage at will. Remember the plan." Zephyrian defense platforms blazed to life, their energy beams lancing out at the incoming vessels. Human FTL ships blinked in and out of existence, appearing behind enemy lines to unleash devastating volleys before vanishing again. On the bridge of his flagship, Overlord Draxus snarled, "Deploy the dreadnoughts! Crush these insects!" Massive Zephyrian warships lumbered into the fray, their hulls overflowing with weapons. But they were slow, and the rebels knew it. Tellurian and Quartax fighters darted between the behemoths, peppering them with precision strikes. Hawkins's voice crackled over the comms. "Vala, you're clear for insertion. Make it count." The Tellurian operative's stealth shuttle slipped past the chaos, heading for the primary shipyards. Inside, Vala's fingers danced across holographic controls, inputting the codes Nexus had provided. "We're in," she reported. "Beginning shutdown sequence." Alarms blared throughout the shipyards as systems began to fail. Confused Zephyrian workers scrambled for escape pods as gravity plating flickered and life support faltered. On the bridge of the Earth flagship, Kennedy watched the battle unfold. "We've got them on the back foot. Press the advantage." The tide turned. One by one, the mighty Zephyrian dreadnoughts fell silent, their weapons disabled by the surgical strikes of the Alliance. Empress Zalara's voice, cold and furious, echoed across all channels. "This changes nothing. Draxus, teach these rebels the price of defiance." Light years away, on Corvin III, Draxus grinned mirthlessly. "With pleasure, my Empress." He turned to his Black Guard commander. "Release the bioweapons. Let them choke on their precious freedom." Green mist billowed through the streets of Corvan's cities. Civilians collapsed, their bodies twisting in agony as the virus ravaged them. In orbit, rebel agents frantically recorded the carnage, transmitting the horrific images across the galaxy. Corax's scarred face contorted with rage as he viewed the footage. "This ends now." He turned to Raxor, the Quartax warlord. "You ready to hit them where it hurts?" Raxor's reptilian eyes gleamed. Point the way, Tellurian. My warriors thirst for vengeance. The command hub at Drekon loomed before them, a massive artificial moon filled with weaponry. Human FTL ships blinked into existence, unleashing devastating barrages before vanishing again. Inside the hub, Nexus worked feverishly, his fingers flying across consoles as he disabled shield generators and defensive systems. Alarms blared, but in the chaos, no one noticed the Zypharian operatives' betrayal. Corax and Raxor led the charge, their fighters weaving through the debris of destroyed ships. Energy beams lanced out, striking the now vulnerable command center. Empress Xalara's hologram flickered to life before Draxus. We are overextended. Pull back to the homeworld. We will regroup and crush them there. As Zypharian ships fled the battlefield, Vala's voice crackled over the comms. We did it! Her words cut off in a scream as a stray missile detonated nearby. The channel went silent. Hawkins felt his heart skip a beat. Vala, come in. There was no response. In the wreckage of Drekon's orbital defenses, the Alliance's victory felt hollow. They had won the battle, but at what cost? And as the dust settled, the true challenge was only beginning to take shape. The dust settled on the ruins of Drekon's command hub, revealing a landscape transformed. Hawkins stood amid the debris, his eyes scanning frantically for any sign of Vala. A flicker of movement caught his attention. Over here, he shouted, rushing towards a pile of twisted metal. Together with a Tellurian rebel, he heaved aside a fallen bulkhead. Vala lay beneath, battered but alive. Took you long enough, she managed, her violet eyes glassy with pain. As medical teams rushed to evacuate the wounded, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Xalara's iron grip had been shattered. On a dozen worlds, populations long oppressed rose up, toppling statues and storming government buildings. Ambassador Kennedy's hologram flickered to life before the assembled leaders of the Alliance. His face was grim but determined. We've won the battle, but now comes the real challenge. We need to broker peace before this devolves into anarchy. In the days that followed, Kennedy worked tirelessly. He shuttled between factions, negotiating ceasefires and temporary accords. The framework of an interim governing council began to take shape. On Lemuria Prime, Fenris paced before a window overlooking the capital. His scaled fingers tapped a furious rhythm against his leg. A subordinate approached, bowing low. My lord, we've received word from the humans. They offer us a seat on this council. Fenris's eyes narrowed. Inform Ambassador Kennedy that Lemuria accepts. It's time we extricated ourselves from Xalara's sinking ship. But not all were pleased with the turn of events. On the bridge of his warship, Raxor, the Cortax warlord, snarled at the incoming transmission. Peace? He spat. We have the Zypharians on their knees. Now is the time to strike, to claim what is rightfully ours. Corax's weathered face appeared on the interface. Stand down, Raxor. We didn't fight this war just to become conquerors ourselves. The argument raged on, threatening to tear apart the fragile alliance. On Earth, General Marcus Colt stood before a sea of protesters. Their signs decried alien influence and demanded retribution. Colt's voice boomed across the square. We've bled for our freedom. Are we to simply hand it over to a council of Xenos? Kennedy watched the footage with a heavy heart. He turned to his advisors. We need something to unite us all, a new vision for the future. In a secure conference room on neutral ground, representatives from a dozen species gathered. The air crackled with tension as Kennedy laid out his proposal. A galactic concord, he said, his voice steady. Equal partnership, shared governance, a chance to build something greater than any one of us could achieve alone. Heated debates erupted. Territorial claims were argued over star charts. Trade routes were redrawn. But slowly, painfully, consensus began to emerge. As the Concord took shape, new challenges arose. Raxor's militant Cortax faction boycotted proceedings, their ships massing on the fringes of settled space. On Earth, Colt's hardliners launched ever larger protests. And then came the Vikers. Their ships struck without warning, hitting demilitarized worlds with surgical precision. Panicked distress calls flooded Concord channels. In the newly established Concord Command Center, Hawkins studied tactical displays. Vala stood at his side, her wounds still healing. "We've got reports of Viker activity in the Orion Arm," she said, pointing to a cluster of red indicators. "But something's off. Their patterns are too organized." Hawkins nodded grimly. "Someone's pulling their strings. We need to find out who." As Concord forces mobilized to confront the Viker threat, tensions within the Alliance reached a breaking point. Human and Tellurian ships found themselves in tense standoffs with Raxor's Cortax fleet. Accusations of collusion with the pirates flew back and forth. Kennedy's voice crackled over the comms, strained but resolute. "All ships, stand down. We cannot afford to turn on each other now." But as fingers hovered over firing controls and old hatreds bubbled to the surface, it remained to be seen whether the ambassador's words would be enough to hold the fragile peace together. The tenuous peace shattered like glass. Across a dozen worlds, the fires of conflict reignited, fueled by old hatreds and new ambitions. On the bridge of his warship, Raxor's scaled fist slammed against a tactical display. "The humans betray us," he snarled. "They broker deals with the Andorians while we bleed for their precious Concord." A Cortax officer approached, mandibles clicking nervously. "My lord, our raids on the trade convoys have been successful, but Concord forces are adapting." Raxor's eyes narrowed. "Then we adapt faster. Contact Admiral Krauth. It's time we taught these peacekeepers the meaning of war." Light years away, on Earth, the streets of New Washington echoed with the angry chants of protesters. General Colt stood before them, his voice booming through amplifiers. "Kennedy would have us kneel before alien masters, but humanity bows to no one." The crowd roared its approval. In the shadows, Kennedy watched the feed with a heavy heart. He turned to his advisors, drive etched on his face. "We need to move on the Shrikal negotiations, now." In the neon-lit corridors of Andorian Space Station Nexus 9, Kennedy faced the imposing figure of Matriarch Jivara. The Andorian's multifaceted eyes studied him impassively. "Your Concord teeters on the edge of oblivion, Ambassador," Jivara said, her voice a low hum. "Why should we risk our warriors in your squabbles?" Kennedy leaned forward. "Because the alternative is chaos, and in chaos there are no winners, only survivors." On Drekon, the capital burned. Senator Drellick ducked as another explosion rocked the government complex. "This is madness," he shouted over the din of battle. "Krauth is destroying everything we've built." Nexus, his features hidden beneath a stealth cloak, materialized beside him. "Then we must build something stronger. Come, Senator. Your people need you." As they fled through secret tunnels, Krauth's loyalists stormed the chambers above, raising the banner of imperial restoration. Amidst the spreading fires of rebellion, Hawkins and Vala's task force found itself stretched to the breaking point. Their ships darted from system to system, desperately trying to contain the violence. "We've got confirmed reports of Raxor's ships hitting colony outposts in the Orion Arm," Vala reported, her fingers dancing across holographic displays. "But something's off. The attack patterns, they're too precise for Cortax raiders." Hawkins frowned, studying the data. "You're right, it's almost as if—" An alarm blared, cutting him off. A junior officer's voice rang out, panic evident. "Sir, unknown contacts, multiple vectors." The view screen flared to life, revealing sleek, otherworldly ships unlike anything they'd encountered. As Hawkins opened his mouth to give orders, the alien vessels opened fire. Chaos erupted across a dozen systems as the mysterious attackers struck with surgical precision. The fragile alliances of the Galactic Concord creaked under the strain, old grudges resurfacing in the face of a new, terrifying enemy. In the shadows between the stars, unseen puppet masters watched with cold satisfaction as their carefully laid plans bore fruit. The real war was just beginning. The unknown vessels unleashed a devastating barrage, their weapons carving through Hawkins' task force like paper. Alarms blared as hull breaches multiplied across the fleet. "Evasive maneuvers," Hawkins shouted, gripping his command chair as the ship lurched violently. "Get me a target lock." Vala's fingers danced across her console. "Sir, their energy signatures? I've never seen anything like it. Our systems can barely track them. A blinding flash erupted as one of the human cruisers disintegrated under concentrated fire. Debris peppered Hawkins's viewport, a grim reminder of their vulnerability. Kennedy needs to see this, Hawkins growled. Transmit all sensor data to Concord Command, now! Light years away in the newly established Concord headquarters, Kennedy stared in disbelief at the incoming feeds. Reports flooded in from a dozen systems, precision strikes against outposts, shipyards, and strategic installations. It's coordinated, he muttered, his face ashen. Who could have the resources for an operation on this scale? A junior analyst approached, datapad in hand. Sir, we've intercepted fragmentary transmissions. They're using an encryption we've never encountered, but our linguists have a partial translation. Kennedy snatched the pad, his eyes widening as he read. Ulfarin? That's impossible. They were wiped out centuries ago. On Rovalex, Korax ducked as energy bolts sizzled overhead. His Tellurian platoon had been caught flat-footed by the Ulfarin assault, their defenses crumbling under the onslaught. Fall back to the tunnels, he roared, returning fire with his plasma rifle. We can't hold the surface. A Tellurian soldier exploded in a shower of gore, struck by some kind of disintegration weapon. Korax gritted his teeth, hatred burning in his eyes, as he glimpsed the shadowy figures of their attackers through the smoke and debris. In orbit, Raxor's Quartax ships blazed into the system, weapons hot. So much for your vaunted peace, Concord, he snarled over an open channel. Let me show you how real warriors fight. His mercenary fleet tore into the Ulfarin ships besieging the orbital shipyards. For a moment, it seemed the tide might turn. Then a massive Ulfarin dreadnought decloaked, its hull filled with weaponry beyond anything the Quartax had faced. Raxor's triumphant grin faded as the dreadnought opened fire. On Drekon, Senator Drellick's holocom crackled to life, revealing Admiral Krauth's stern visage. The Ulfarin threat leaves us no choice, Senator. We must put aside our differences. Drellick nodded grimly. Agreed. I'll recall our diplomats from the Concord immediately. Drekon stands with you against this menace. Krauth's lips curved in a predatory smile. For the glory of the Empire. The transmission cut off. Krauth turned to his waiting officers, his expression hardening. Initiate Operation Sundering. Eliminate Drellick and his lackeys. It's time we showed the galaxy what true Zypharian might looks like. In his opulent chambers on Lemuria Prime, Fenris received Krauth's emissary. The Zypharian officer bowed low, offering a data crystal. My lord, Admiral Krauth sends his regards. He believes this information will be of great interest to you. Fenris's reptilian eyes gleamed as he examined the crystal's contents. Well, it seems our human friends have been keeping secrets. He turned to his aide. Prepare a secure channel to Drekon. It's time we renegotiated our position in this new galactic order. Across human space, panic spread like wildfire. Colony after colony fell silent as Krauth's resurgent Imperial fleets struck with terrifying precision. Antimatter warheads detonated in the midst of human battle groups, trapping them in collapsing FTL fields. On Earth, General Colt stormed into the emergency session of the United Earth Government. This is what comes of trusting aliens, he thundered. We must withdraw from the Concord immediately and focus on defending our own. Kennedy, his hologram flickering with interference, pleaded for unity. If we fracture now, we're finished. Our only hope is to stand together. But as reports of devastated outposts and shattered fleets poured in, Kennedy saw the tide of opinion turning against him. Humanity was facing extinction, and trust was in short supply. In the command center of his battered flagship, Hawkins studied tactical readouts with unwavering tenacity. Vala limped to his side, her arm in a makeshift sling. Sir, she said, her voice low, we've identified a pattern in the Ulfarine movements. There's a central hub coordinating their attacks. Hawkins nodded, a spark of hope kindling in his eyes. Then that's where we strike. Get me Kennedy. It's time we took the fight to them. Hawkins's eyes locked onto the tactical display, a dogged perseverance settling over his features. Kennedy, we've found it. The Ulfarin hub coordinating their attacks. The ambassador's hologram flickered, his face etched with the weight of countless lives lost. Then that's our target. What's the plan, Commander? Hawkins outlined the strategy, his words clipped and precise. A multi-pronged assault. My team will infiltrate and sabotage the Imperial shipyards over Draca 4, crippling their fleet production. Meanwhile, Vala will coordinate rebel uprisings on occupied Zyphurian colonies, disrupting Krauth's supply lines. Kennedy nodded, his mind already racing ahead. I'll mobilize our remaining forces. We need to buy time for our shipyards to complete the new armor upgrades. As the holo faded, Vala approached Hawkins, her eyes burning with intensity. Sir, permission to lead the ground team on Zypher Prime. I have contacts in the Resistance who... Hawkins cut her off with a sharp gesture. Denied. I need you coordinating the overall rebel strategy. Your tactical insight is too valuable to risk on a single operation. Vala's eyebrows furrowed, but she nodded stiffly. Understood, sir. Days later, Hawkins crouched in the shadows of a massive fabrication array on Draca 4. His team moved with practiced stealth, planting antimatter charges at key structural points. The air thrummed with the relentless rhythm of Imperial shipbuilding. A muffled explosion echoed from a distant quadrant. Hawkins tapped his comm. Team 2, report. Static crackled, then a breathless voice. Diversionary attack successful, sir. Imperial forces are converging on the fuel depots. Hawkins allowed himself a tight smile. Good work. All teams execute final phase and fall back to extraction points. As they raced through twisting corridors, alarms began to blare. The charges detonated in a cascading wave of destruction, ripping through the shipyard's vital systems. Hawkins and his team barely made it to their stealth shuttle as entire sections of the orbital facility began to tear apart. Across the galaxy, Vala's carefully orchestrated rebel strikes erupted on a dozen Zyphurian worlds. Imperial garrisons found themselves besieged by well-armed insurgents, their supply lines suddenly severed. In the war room on Earth, Kennedy studied real-time updates, his face drawn but resolute. It's working. Krauth's production capabilities are crippled, and his forces are spread thin trying to contain the uprisings. General Colt scowled, his arms crossed. It's not enough. We need to press our advantage, strike at the heart of the Imperial fleet while they're reeling. Kennedy's eyes narrowed. And we will, but not until our new ships are ready. We can't afford another massacre like Epsilon Tauri. Weeks passed in a blur of feverish activity. Human shipyards worked around the clock, retrofitting vessels with experimental armor designed to withstand Ulfaran antimatter weapons. As the reinforcements trickled in, Kennedy's strategic net tightened around Krauth's forces. Finally, the moment arrived. Kennedy addressed the combined fleet, his voice steady despite the stakes. The enemy believes they've broken us. Today we prove them wrong. For Earth, for the Concord, for every world that has suffered under Imperial tyranny, we fight. The Battle of the Kron Rift erupted in a maelstrom of weapons fire and tactical maneuvers. Human attack wings danced on the edge of oblivion, skimming the lethal range of Ulfaran interdiction fields to rain destruction on Imperial capital ships. Hawkins, commanding from the bridge of the newly christened HSS Defiant, barked orders as his crew fought to keep pace with the frenetic combat. Evasive pattern Delta! Missile batteries! Target those Ulfaran cruisers and fire at will! A sea of explosive light bloomed against the cosmic void as FTL missiles found their marks. Imperial ships crumbled under the assault, their shields faltering against weapons specifically designed to penetrate their defenses. Vala's voice crackled over the comm, tense but controlled. Sir, Cortax mercenary wings are moving into position. They're preparing for their attack runs on the minefields. Hawkins grimaced. The cost in lives would be staggering, but there was no other way to punch through the Imperial defenses. Acknowledged. Tell them we won't forget their sacrifice. Wave after wave of unshielded Cortax fighters hurled themselves into the deadly gauntlet of antimatter mines. Each detonation carved a path for human FTL frigates to exploit, slowly but inexorably pushing back the Imperial line. As the battle raged, Krauth's loyalists fought with increasing desperation. Crippled Imperial vessels turned themselves into massive projectiles, ramming human ships in suicidal attacks that left both sides reeling. Amidst the chaos, a stray shot breached the command citadel of Krauth's flagship. The Imperial Admiral's bridge lay exposed, a tempting target for the circling rebel forces. Vala's voice rang out, triumphant. "We've got him! All ships, concentrate fire on—" Her words were cut off by a blinding flash. Krauth, his ambitions in ruins, had activated his fleet's doomsday protocols. The unstable cosmic terrain of the Kron Rift ignited, turning the battlefield into a raging subspace inferno. Hawkins watched in horror as Krauth's flagship plunged into the heart of the conflagration, taking thousands of lives with it. "All ships, emergency FTL jump. Get clear of the blast radius." The Defiant shuddered as it tore free of the collapsing space-time, barely outpacing the wave of destruction. As the sensors cleared, Hawkins took stock of the survivors. A pitiful handful of human and Quartax vessels had escaped the cataclysm. Vala's ship was not among them. In the stunned silence that followed, Hawkins received a priority transmission from Earth. Kennedy's hologram materialized, his expression a mixture of relief and anguish. "Report, Commander. What's the status of the Imperial fleet?" Hawkins swallowed hard, his voice hoarse. "Destroyed, sir, along with most of ours. Krauth. He ignited the rift itself. The casualties are beyond anything we've seen." Kennedy closed his eyes, the weight of victory and loss etched in every line of his face. "Understood. Return to Earth immediately. We need to salvage what we can of the Concord before it all falls apart." As the battered remnants of the human fleet limped home, Hawkins stared out at the stars. They had won, but at what cost? And what new challenges lurked in the vast, uncaring depths of space?
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.